Yeah.
For the last couple of days, I've been trying to play Totally Accurate Battlegrounds, the new release and bit of marketing for Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, developed by Landfall, makers of Cluster Truck and Stick Fight. I am utterly adoring it, and I want this video out whilst it's still free, so just go and grab it now. I'll wait. As someone who enjoys Battle Royale games, or at least enjoys what the genre is going for and hopes it improves and tightens up, Tabga, even as a self-proclaimed parody of the genre, gives me more of what I want from it than any other title I've played. It does this with some unique approaches. Its slapstick, cartoonish style of combat, influenced by physics-based movement and aiming, its incredibly large plethora of weaponry from the mundane to the insane, and its baffling map design, combined with really fun yet simplistic mobility. In concept, it plays much like any other. You and a bunch of other lads are dropped onto an island, and your only objective is to outlive every other poor sod. And that, my friends, is it. Do whatever is necessary in the pursuit of that goal. Killing enemies, hiding in a corner, and running away are all valid options, so long as it keeps you going. What is this for the two people who haven't heard of a Battle Royale? What is this segment? But as the round goes on, a circle of death closes in, forcing whoever is still standing to make their way into a tighter and tighter arena, eventually forcing a confrontation. And I gotta say, the finale event in this game is mwah, A+. It is the best. But it doesn't take until the end of a round for it to set itself apart. It does that early. The method by which the player enters the arena is a lot more, say, headstrong. Tabga is a game that doesn't play itself so seriously. This isn't just in presentation. This silly slapstick nature carries over into its gameplay. The contortions your character goes through affect aim. Jumping all over the place and strafing will throw off your shots and make gunfights into a frantic mess, and I mean that in a good way. The fact that your weapon is also a tangible object also leads to larger weapons becoming more cumbersome in a close-range encounter, and this gives fighting in confined spaces a sense of physicality, and it adds on to what may already be a chaotic situation. This also does give melee weapons an actual niche. In other Battle Royale games I've played, melee weapons quickly become obsolete the moment guns enter the fray, which is very quickly. In Tabga, rushing into melee range is a viable move. Getting past a weapon's barrel makes landing a shot nigh impossible. It makes both closing the gap and getting in, and turning tail and making distance both viable options depending on what you're trying to do in a fight. On top of this, mobility in Tabga is simplistic but highly enjoyable. Clambering up, over and through obstacles is a cinch. If you can see a hole, odds are you can force your way through it, and you can scale obstacles with ease. I've had running gunfights through city streets where me and an enemy have snaked our way through buildings, alleyways, windows, and across rooftops. It's downright cartoonish how a gunfight can move from one space to another, and it gives ample opportunities to set up ambushes and make ridiculous escapes. Gunfights move in this game, and it is intense yet enjoyable to try and get that killer blow. Along with this, Tabga, being made of parts for the upcoming Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, means it has a plethora of weapons from different eras, from crossbows to flintlocks to military assault rifles, and stuff further afield. In terms of sheer weapon variety, it trounces the competition, and it isn't just a wide, shallow puddle even if some weapons do operate somewhat similarly. But by and large, different weapons play differently. Crossbows are slow and silent, assault rifles practical mid-range powerhouses. LMGs are big and unwieldy, but they can really lay down the fire. This is the first Battle Royale I've played where I can go sword and board, and I won't feel too disadvantaged for doing so. If I do have some criticism of this, it is that naturally most everyone is going to gravitate towards whatever modern era automatic weapon they can get their hands on. I've seen a few folk use the more archaic and out there tools, but it's a big rarity. Me, I'm a melee man, cause I can't aim worth shit. I can't really find a solution to this beyond having modes with different weapon eras, but as of now, splitting the player base and adding onto an already strained server load. Likely this isn't wise, but it may be an idea for the future. I've also had a mixed time with how loot is distributed. Most rounds tend to be a quick skirmish in one of the big towns, as finding decent loot in more secluded areas has been a fool's errand in my experience. And speaking of the map, the more built-up parts of the stage have some of the most enjoyable arenas I've ever seen in a Battle Royale. Chaos in particular is a favourite of mine. It's a cluster of flipped, incomprehensible houses mashed together, filled with ways to scale over and cut through the absolute mess. The mountain town and military are also enjoyable. Military is made of bombed out husks of buildings looped together, just cramped enough to climb up to the rooftops and get the drop on those traveling below. The actual built-up arena spaces have a heavy degree of verticality and lend plenty of opportunities to put the game's unconventional freedom of movement to use. And some weapons have so much blowback it can knock you back a pace, or skywards if you so choose, so weaponizing blowback for extra height is an option. This slapstick approach actually fulfills something that I really adore and want Battle Royale games to embrace and go after: freedom of approach. One of the best moments I had in Playerunknown's Battlegrounds, rest in peace by the way, was when I had ramped a motorbike onto a building roof. I took cover up there and used my surprise position to get the drop on a group of players trying to outrun the wall. I love that spirit of doing whatever it takes to win, that mixture of an in theory fair game where everyone is equally capable, but in actuality, some get lucky with equipment, position, and circumstance. This is going to be an odd statement, and I can understand why some will take issue with it, but I like Battle Royales because of their inherent unfairness. When I watched the movie Battle Royale as a kid, and some poor lad got a frying pan, that's what I want. Not the frying pan, the idea behind the frying pan, the skewed odds. I don't see Battle Royales as competitive due to this, but as a great way to have fun little stories of victory and defeat generated by the myriad options afforded to the player and built upon by that unfairness. And Tabga presents you with a good array of possibilities. I do have criticisms, well, besides the obvious servers being a bit on the fritz, it's early days, and I will bear in mind that this game hasn't had long in the oven. Besides that, the map is incredibly barren outside of those built-up areas, and it feels a bit too large for the 40-player limit. I realize Battle Royale games have a lot of dead air, a lot of dead time where you're traversing the map, and the intensity there comes from the idea of being spotted. It doesn't really work in this, and I can't quite put my finger on why. It just feels like it breaks the pace of a game that's otherwise quite silly and quite frantic. I both like and dislike that there's no independent team queues. Solo players are grouped up with teams. There is a clear advantage in numbers. Tabga isn't made to be totally fair, but it can be frustrating to be a lone player on the receiving end of a group. Vehicles, besides their rarity, honestly I hadn't even mentioned them up until now, are not very enjoyable to drive. That in itself I'm okay with, but considering everything else in this game, I expected crashing into an enemy player to send them flying. It doesn't even deal damage. As of now, there doesn't seem to be much interaction. Lastly, it just needs some optimization. Again, this is early days, but it's dropping frames like I'm dropping fools, so that's a lot. Anyway, for the princely sum of hopefully still currently free, I heartily recommend Tabga. Even if you're not into Battle Royale games, I ask, please give it a shot and find out for yourself. I've had so much fun with it. It may just be the one for you. Its use of slapstick physics-based movement complements a Battle Royale in a really fun and unique way, and I can only hope they patch it up. I've been on and off in following Battle Simulator, but for an April Fool's joke come late, this is a really good one, and one that has made me more interested in its as-of-yet unreleased older brother. This has been Disnakera, thank you for watching. Please, try Tabga.